Welcome to UK Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yukai Kechidori.
Hi guys, welcome back to another very special episode. Now, if you've ever wondered how do other people communicate so well, convey their ideas, or even get businesses every single day, even if they're an introvert, well, you're in the right place because my guest here today is going to show you how you can do that through her story and also some of the systems that she has created over time. Susan, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, it's brilliant to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome. Now, Susan Heaton-Wright is a virtual impact communication and speaking expert for emerging global leaders. She has helped hundreds of people do what they do through communication. And today, you're in for a treat because you're going to discover how you too, as a business owner, maybe you're starting out, can use the exact skills that Susan has honed in over the last 12 years to do business on your terms and to get your ideas out there. Susan, once again, we are thrilled to have you on the show. I know I've missed out a whole lot of introduction messages there. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up being the superstar communicator?
Well, everybody assumes that I've always been a speaker and that I've always been very, very confident in speaking and communicating. Yeah. It could not be less than the truth. I was one of those kids at school that dreaded having to read in class, and I can see you nodding. Yes. Because I would misread words, and everyone would giggle, and I would be waiting for the bell to go before it was my turn. And even at 16, I went for an interview for W.H. Smith. You remember?
Yes.
They used lots of Saturday jobs there, and my mum managed to get me an interview, and I did not talk through the entire interview. And they didn't even bother to give me a call. Oh. And I know, and then I was a prefect at school. How I managed to get to be a prefect is probably another story entirely. But one of our roles was that every prefect had to lead the prayers in assembly. It was a week that you had to do it. I paid out of my own pocket money for one of the other prefects to do it when it was my turn, because it was just beyond me. And even at university, I was in a tutorial with 3 people, and we had to present a paper to the other 2 students and the tutor. And I was so nervous, the sweaty armpits and the shaking hands. And I'm sure lots of people listening are thinking, oh, God, that was me.
You are describing how I was. And more so for me, Susan, because many of my listeners knows that I'm from Zimbabwe, and I had migrated to England. So I pronounced words very different. I still do. But back then it was even worse. I would, think, okay, how am I going to say this? This is crazy. So I've got a feeling I know what you're explaining.
and you do feel very awkward. You feel as though you're on your back foot. Yes. But I studied geography, so I travelled a bit, and then I retrained as an opera singer. Now, and I went on to perform in front of hundreds of people as a soloist on centre stage. And I now recognise that I went through a massive journey from being that quiet kid that was desperately underestimated through to stepping onto the centre stage, taking the limelight, managing my nerves, and learning how to perform and communicate. Wow. And really, it's those sorts of things, my particular journey, my why. I don't want other people who are incredible people, but who might be underestimated or ignored or undervalued when they contribute to meetings, to have some skills so that they can step up and own that center stage.
Yes, but what really changed for you? You know, what was that trigger that made you turn like that?
Well, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, that 16-year-old in W.H. Smith interview didn't sort of suddenly become a butterfly on stage. It was a continuous thing. I mean, when I went to music college, I had permission to take center stage.
Okay.
All of a sudden. So there was a change in mindset, but also I learned from watching other people, from studying with my teachers, getting advice from more senior people about how to prepare, how to hone your content, how to really understand your audience and use them. And also, of course, about pacing yourself, because you know, if you've got a long meeting, if you've got a long presentation, I mean, I've not that this happens virtually, but certainly in real life, some presentations can be 2 hours long, which is a long time to maintain your own energy, but also the audience participation in that. And so there were lots of things around that I learnt. And certainly the performer, I did a lot of improvisational work. So really began to understand what was working with an audience, how to engage them, how to bounce that energy off you. And then when I had my son, I found it very difficult to combine that with an opera career. I didn't have family that lived close by, but people who were not from the music industry were talking to me saying, how is it that you do that? How do you do that? You can do that so easily. Yeah. And so I started to support people. Originally, it was within the education sector. So university lecturers and teachers on vocal health and pacing themselves. But then I recognized that really there was a need and for support within the corporate sector for emerging leaders and talent, particularly talent where it was perhaps being underestimated, or they were being told, you're not ready for partner because you're not very proactive in meetings, even though the rest of their work was incredible.
Yes, yeah, incredible. Obviously, you've done this for a few years, and one of the things that inspired me when we were talking earlier on is how you pivot right at the beginning of the pandemic. You know, your business was offline, and you took it to online and entered into different markets like Singapore and other corporate world, which you didn't have before.
No, I didn't.
Yes. So let's help our listeners. You know, maybe they identify with that 16-year-old girl. They are there, maybe in a business context. They find themselves in a meeting, but they're not able to convey exactly what they need to convey or their ideas. Where can they start? You know, let's show them like the roadmap.
Let's try and break it down. Okay, so I identify 5 key areas that I believe are essential to empower you to be a superstar communicator. Yeah. And obviously I develop that further in these 5 areas, but they are knowing your audience, knowing the purpose. Why are you speaking? What's in it for your audience? Who are your audience? Are they, what seniority are they? All things like that. And I could go into great depth there, but thinking about that, if you've got a meeting, perhaps go on LinkedIn and find out a little bit about them, because then that might help you to really work out what you're going to say that's relevant to them and of interest. Then there's content. Now, most of my clients are very, very knowledgeable. You know, they're already experts at what they do. Yeah. And what they need support with is to create content in, easy to digest lumps, so that when they speak to the audience, it's easy for the audience to take in what they've said. So, for example, having a really good beginning, having a call to action at the end. People often forget that at the end, people need to know what they need to do. Whether it is, I need this information by next Friday, or, so if you'd like to work with me, here's my card. I use those as examples. But also on a virtual way, we are distracted by things far more. So we need to make sure, well, we are, aren't we? Maybe not you, but me, I get distracted by things. It might be that, I'm aware my husband is lurking out there with a cup of tea for me. So, but we all are, and it might be that the phone goes or an email pings across, all of those things.
Yes.
So if we can keep things brief and concise, it can help our audience to really focus on what we're saying. And certainly with the virtual workshops I've been doing, we've done lots of exercises on keeping things very brief and concise. Then if people need to ask you questions, they will ask you more. But if you go into too much detail, I don't know about you, but I get overwhelmed by this and switch off.
Exactly.
So, and there are a few other techniques there, but I'm summarizing. Then there's preparation, of which I put managing your fear and managing your nerves within that. Because it might be that you have a meeting where you've got to share your opinion, and it might provoke quite extreme emotions from other people, or you might be having to have a tricky conversation.
Yes.
Or it might be that you've got to present, and actually you're nervous like me, the 16-year-old, in an interview that doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
And so there are various techniques you can have to manage your nerves. I've also done a neuroscience course, as well as the training I did when I was at opera school and the experience of being on stage. But also preparation includes practicing and actually preparing yourself. Then there's the performance side, and that's pacing yourself so that you don't use too much energy at the beginning, or you have a lot of energy at the beginning and at key moments and right at the end. And your body language, your facial expressions, your gestures. And then there's the voice. And I don't mean about singing. I don't get people to sing. But if people have got voices, I believe, and I'm sure you agree with me, that we speak so it's as easy as possible for other people to take in what we say. So if we mumble, if we speak too fast, if we've got a really strong accent, people are going to struggle and they're going to switch off. So if we speak slightly slower, perhaps have pauses between each phrase, so people can take in what we've said, that we show passion, energy, and people are going to be drawn into that conversation.
Amazing. Just those three keys, I can see how they can help any business owner straight away to improve their ability to deliver great content, and also to persuade others, into their way of thinking. Which will be amazing. And it means more sales for those who are looking to get sales. Because
absolutely. If you understand your audience and can ask questions that really reveal whether or not somebody's a potential buyer, you won't waste their time, you won't waste yours, if actually it's quite clear from the word go that they might like what you do, but they're not ready for a sale at the moment, not ready to buy.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, say for those that perhaps have done these things, and I'm thinking of content creation specifically, but or even the very first one that we talked about, and they're struggling. Are there any tools they can use, or any website that can help them improve in that you can recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I have my own podcast. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug it.
Of course, of course.
But my podcast is Superstar Communicator, like the name of my company. And quite often I will have people on who are communication experts or business owners like me.
Awesome.
And you, to share ideas about spoken communication. But also some of the courses that I do, whether they are virtual workshops that I can do with a team, or even an individual work. I've got a 5-session program, Be Seen, Be Heard, Make an Impact, which is 5 sessions for senior people, which is a very, very good value program that can be done. And it goes into all of these techniques, and we work online to do that.
Integrate the details. Maybe, while we're at it, would you tell us your website or your social media where people...
Yeah, my website is superstarcommunicator.com.
Awesome. Very easy.
Yeah. And my podcast is Superstar Communicator. On LinkedIn, I'm Susan Heaton-Wright. There's only one Susan Heaton-Wright in the world. It's my stage name. And so... And Twitter is Superstars.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love the simplicity of that. Susan, let's talk about the mistakes that you often see people make when it comes to communicating their ideas, specifically in a business environment.
Well, one thing is that people go into too much detail, and it might not be right for the audience. It might be that they don't have the time to take in all of that information. They just need to have headline summaries of what's being shared, or if it's very detailed data or something very complicated, it's very hard on the brain. It makes us feel, our brains feel very exhausted, and as a result of that, we get distracted by that. And then there is a gap in the information, and our brain doesn't like gaps, so it will fill in that gap with what we think should be in the information. And so that's when there can be some mistakes. So actually what you should do, as I mentioned before, is to keep everything at headline level, and then if there need to be questions they can ask you, or to use stories or case studies.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, the power of stories is incredible. It keeps people engaged.
Yes. Although I always talk about Dominic Cummings and the Jackanory style of storytelling that he demonstrated back in May. That was there any purpose to it? Was there any structure? No, we all got lost in it. And so if I ever say to you, you're doing a Dominic Cummings, it is not. It's not a compliment. But there are ways that you can simply structure a story so it can, lead to different emotions, but have powerful ways that people remember the message.
Incredible. He needed your coaching session before he started.
Oh, God, yeah. I don't think he would have listened to me, to be honest.
That's incredible. So as we are coming toward the end of our time here, Susan, is there anything around this subject of being a superstar communicator that you feel the audience needs to understand that I have not asked you about?
Yeah, there's one thing around public speaking, because people often say to me that they are scared of public speaking. And I would say two things. First of all, nobody died of public speaking. Yeah.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the second thing is that once you're talking to somebody else, I believe you are public speaking because you're no longer speaking to yourself. And we have this idea in our mind that public speaking is, it's to hundreds of people. And actually, we do, don't we?
We do, yes, we do.
And actually, public speaking can be you and me speaking, or you speaking to 10 people or 20 people. Think about scaling it up. That yes, I'm doing a presentation today to 15 people. I'm public speaking. Well done. And let's see if you can make it bigger, 30 next time, 40. And try and make yourself proud of what you achieve. So you are scaling up.
Yes.
And the other thing is that, I could go into a lot of detail about why we get nervous, but most of the time the audience are not your enemy. That because you are getting nervous, I'm going to get this wrong, that's your ego. But if you turn it round and say, actually, I'm here to share some fantastic information, you are taking it away from your ego to be in a point of service.
Oh, yes.
And it takes the pressure off you.
Love that. Yes. Yeah. It's amazing how that switch in your mindset can do for you, from a place where it's all about you. Now it's all about helping somebody do better. You and I know that people do far more for others than sometimes they do for themselves. And if you just switch it off there, you'll be amazed at what you can do. We are in a very interesting time, Susan.
Yes.
Right now, you talking to another business owners, what's keeping you going amidst all these, difficult time that in my lifetime we've experienced? What's keeping you going?
It is helping other people. Before we had started this interview, I said that I lost my entire business way back in March because everything was cancelled, as I'm sure for other listeners here. And I made a point of working out what might support other people in these crazy times. And initially I came up with 3 virtual workshops that I thought would be of value. And one of them was on resilience and all areas of well-being, not exclusively mental health. And that has been hugely popular and has helped, I would say, a few hundred people.
Awesome.
Really supported them. And then there were other 2 one on virtual communication, the things you needed to think about because people needed that for meetings. And the other one was actually facilitating and participating in virtual meetings. And those 3 topics have served me so well. But more importantly, they have served hundreds of people that have come on the workshops, literally hundreds.
Wow.
And so since then, I've been thinking about what I can do to help people. The content I serve on LinkedIn, which I know that you've looked on my LinkedIn, has all been constructive and positive and supportive. Even if at times when I felt, what's going to happen? I've kept that because it I can talk to my family about that, but it serves nobody to have me moaning about things.
Right.
But even thinking a little tiny glimmer of hope to keep things going.
Yeah. Susan, you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We want to wish you real success.
Thank you.
And we have enjoyed having you on the show. And perhaps in future we can have you again in one of our...
I'd love that. I would really be honored to come back again. Thank you.
Yes. Recently, actually, just the last month, we had our challenge. It was a 5-day challenge We had just under 1,000 people there.
Wow.
And we had 25 speakers. It was amazing. So maybe we could do something like that again. We have got something planned up for the coming year.
I would love that. I would be really honored to be involved in that.
It would be good. Well, thank you. And listeners, if you want to know more about Susan, there is a website right below. In fact, Susan, tell us again your website. Superstar.
It is superstarcommunicator.com.
Awesome. And you also have a link below this podcast, so you can go straight to Susan's website. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And we believe that, it's better. Life is better when you do it together. So stay close to what we are doing here. And if you've got any questions, just head over to our group there, and you will get an answer there. With that said, have a great day, and I look forward to catching up with you very, very soon. Susan, once again, thank you for being here on the show today.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to UK Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.ukbusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.